Well, it will probably come as little surprise. Housing affordability has hit a 3-decade low, with just 13% of Australians earning an average income able to afford to buy a property. Data from real estate analyst PropTrack shows New South Wales and Victoria are among the most unaffordable.
But it's Tasmanians who have the toughest time. Families there with a typical income could only afford 5% of houses. It's better news for Queensland and Western Australia, where prices haven't hit the same highs.
According to the report, it's also taking longer for Australians to save for a deposit, with a typical household needing to save 20% of their income for more than 5.5 years to afford a property. And first home buyers and lower income households are finding it toughest of all, with mortgage rate increases and skyrocketing property prices largely to blame.
For more, we're joined now by senior economist from PropTrack, Angus Moore. Welcome to ABC News. Just firstly, Angus Moore, this is the lowest for housing affordability in some 30 years. Just give us an idea of how much that ability to afford a home has dropped recently.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me. So what we've got out this morning is the new PropTrack Housing Affordability Index, which measures affordability as the share of homes that everyone right across the income distribution can afford. So it's a more comprehensive way of looking at affordability. Unfortunately, the picture's not a good one at the moment. With the rapid increase in interest rates that we've seen, it is much harder to afford to buy a home. And kind of the key underpinning stat here, the sort of headline, if you like, is that for a median income household across Australia, so that's about $105,000 a year, only about 13% of the homes sold in the past year were affordable for that kind of income bracket to buy. That's pretty low, and that's much lower than what we were seeing a couple of years ago when interest rates were much lower. It's the lowest we've got on our records. So in 3 decades, it's as low as we've seen, and it really highlights the scale of the challenge households are facing at the moment.
Now, we're also bringing up a graphic as we talk through the numbers here, Angus Moore, and just give us an idea of, how that is varied across the country, because obviously some markets are a lot tighter than others.
Yeah, that's right. New South Wales is and remains and has for most of the last 3 decades been the least affordable state. It is, obviously a very expensive place to live. And while incomes are a little higher in New South Wales than the average across Australia, it's not enough to compensate. And so New South Wales is the most unaffordable state. Tassie, interestingly, is not far behind. So Tassie is the second least affordable state at the moment. And that's a really big change for Tasmania. And it's actually one of the things that I think sticks out most strikingly from the report. As recently as 2016, Tasmania was actually Australia's most affordable state. And since then, prices have basically doubled. So between 2015 and today, prices in Hobart have doubled. And that's made Tassie, which is Australia's lowest income state, now its second least affordable. Maybe to, finish with a bit of a silver lining, the flip side is actually WA, which is now Australia's most affordable state. Used to be the least. It's the only time any state other than New South Wales has been the least affordable, which was back in 2008, 9 and 10, during the height of the mining boom when WA got very, very expensive. But since then, prices in WA have actually been relatively soft. And so today, housing in WA is actually still relatively affordable compared to the rest of the country.
We notice as well, though, you mentioned obviously mortgage rates have increased quite significantly in the last year or so, but we're still seeing property prices rise across most markets. So what is the longer term outlook then for affordability?
Yeah, exactly right. Despite those big increases in interest rates, property prices have been remarkably resilient this year. We had property prices out yesterday for August. They're up 0.3%. According to the PropTrack Home Price Index nationally. In Sydney, they're up 0.5%, which is fairly brisk growth given kind of all of the interest rate increases we've seen last year and the challenge of affordability. The unfortunate news for home buyers and for first home buyers in particular is we're probably not going to see a lot of relief on the affordability front anytime soon. Well, the good news is that we're not probably going to see increases in interest rates from here, or if we do, there'll only be 1 or 2, nothing like what we have seen. So it's not going to get worse, but it's probably not going to get much better in the near term either. And with prices rising, that's only going to make it a bit tougher. The offsetting bit here is that incomes and wages are growing, and they're growing quicker than what we have been seeing. But that's going to be a slow process to offset that increase in mortgage costs.
Angus Moore, senior economist with PropTrack. Not necessarily such good news for us this morning, but we do thank you so much for taking us through the numbers. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.